Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Bluegrass State, tonight's running of the 200-mile event here at the Kentucky Speedway. I'm Peter Short, and joining me in the booth once again is Cameron Rich and Carlos Acosta, always manning the cameras here on 3 Wide TV. We'll welcome you. It's the SimPossible V-Card series here tonight. Should be lots of fun, 133 laps in store for us here tonight. And Cameron, this is a really interesting racetrack, lots of bumps, and we will tackle it here under the lights.
Absolutely, and we were just here last night with another league here on 3 Wide TV with the trucks, and we saw a lot of action in that race, a lot of carnage, a lot of green flag racing. I think we'll see the same tonight. This is a very wide, bumpy track, like you said. A lot of racing room here, and I think these drivers are going to tackle it pretty well. You know, this is one of the widest tracks that we do race at in as far as ovals go. You can see how wide it is on the two-run there. You can easily fit about 6 cars deep on this racetrack. Very much a track that provides a lot of racing room. I think that's going to play into some green flag racing tonight, but it can also play into some incidents we see on track, just because you might see 3 wide, 4 wide. Saw that a lot last night, and it's going to be a fun one here. About 2 minutes to go until we get to qualifying, and actually about a minute to go there. And at the top 4, we have Doug McCollum, 31.471, the only driver right now in the 31.4 second bracket. Definitely showing some speed out here tonight. One of the storylines we need to talk to, Peter, or talk about, is Tanner Sharp. He is your points leader now. He's won 4 of the last 5 races and finished second last week at Daytona to Fernando Matos. Got a 1.2 average finish in that time span, so definitely right now. And I think he's definitely going to be one here, definitely going to be one to watch out here tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. Tanner Sharp currently sitting second on the board with a 31.513. But Doug McCollum, you mentioned it, Cameron, he's run the fastest lap. And in fact, he just ran that lap about a minute ago. So Doug McCollum leaving the best for last here in practice. AJ Digby currently sitting third. Dave Wilson sitting fourth. And Kevin Cochran in 5th, but there's only about a 10th and a half separating your top 8 or so drivers. So pretty close field here tonight. Like we saw last night when we were here, it was a close race, and expecting to see much the same here as you see the 4 machine disappear, because we have now moved over into the qualifying session here at Kentucky. 2 laps these drivers get to come around this joint and set their fastest lap that they can muster up here under the lights. Track temperature currently sitting at 79 degrees track temperature, ambient temperature of 78 degrees. So pretty much iRacing default here tonight. And look at that scheme. Gonna have to get used to that one. That's Billy Wise in that number 32 machine. You can see those numbers on the quarter panel of that machine. So kind of a unique look for Billy Wise.
Yeah, there's a couple of other noobs here as well. Nick Tilla in a number 4 Monster Energy Ford. We usually see him in a Chevrolet, so might have jumped ship for him. Dave Wilson is also in a new car that's sponsored by Viagra, if anyone knows that old car that Mark Martin used to run in the Cup Series. A lot of jokes on that car, so we'll have to see about that one tonight. Billy Wise, I think he's the only one on track right now, so we'll see what kind of a lap time he's able to run. And I want to kind of just make a note of the line that Billy runs here in his qualifying run. Usually you really don't see too many cars go right down to that yellow line. You really want to run about a lane up. That's where the rubber is on the track. You can see it right there, that darker patch of asphalt. It's kind of where he's running. That's where you'll see most of these drivers run tonight. And off to number 4, very wide. You can see from the in-car here just how wide the track is. There's so much room to swing out there, but that is really deceptive, Peter. As a driver, it really catches you out. You can get out there and hit that wall pretty easily.
Yeah, you carry so much momentum out of the corners here at Kentucky that if your car is just a little bit tight, that outside wall will come upon you in a hurry. So we saw that a couple times last night. Expect to see that a couple times here tonight, especially coming out of turn number 2, because the front stretch at least has, you know, a tri-oval to it, so you don't have as harsh of a radius on exit of turn number 4. But turn number 2, you got that flat back stretch, and it just comes up on you.
Absolutely. Right at the board right now, Dave Wilson with 31.792, about 2 cents off of what he ran in practice, so we might see most of these drivers lose a little bit of time from their practice speeds, but we'll have to wait and see if the track has actually lost a little bit of speed or not. We're on board with someone right now. I can't really see it. It's the number 48, Mark Dingman. So coming out of turn 4 to complete his lap time. He was, I believe, about 10th or so in practice, so see if he can improve on that run. Goes Currently P4 32009, so a little bit of speed need to be found in that machine. A new pole sitter for the time being, 31539 from Nate Catilla in that number 4 car. Somebody who we talked about is in a new car this week, Monster Energy sponsored machine. A lot of speed out of that car. He's one of the only ones to actually pick up from practice. Actually, he is the only one to pick up from practice right now. So Nate Catilla out there with a very good lap time so far.
And just as you say that, Cameron, Tanner Sharp, he's going to pick up just a little bit from his practice time. That's going to put him on the provisional pole here with about 2 minutes left in qualifying. Still quite a few drivers yet to show themselves on the racetrack. Kevin Cochran, Brian Lowhead, Johnny Berardi, Doug McCollum, Capers, Matthew Lesniewski, Kyle Zimmer, Tom Johnson, AJ Digby, some heavy hitters in that list of drivers yet to turn a time. And here comes one of those. The driver who was fastest in practice, Doug McCollum, now out there on the racetrack. You see he's trying to get that number 33 machine wound up for his first lap. And really, Cameron, you got to get it done on the first lap. He's going to be way up near the wall. That's an interesting line there through the trial vault on his first time lap.
It is. That's something you see at a track like Daytona or Talladega. You don't technically see that at Kentucky here, but we'll see if it works for him. It looks like he had a pretty good line through 1 and 2. Just about a lane up from the bottom of the racetrack. Looks like he's carrying a lot of speed. See down in the turns 3 and 4 into the speedway. Very smooth lap so far. I think it'll put him at least top 5, but we'll have to see if he's able to match or better his lap time from practice. Right down to that grass on the apron. Don't want to hit it because that will disqualify your lap. We'll see where he goes. 31.442, new pole sitter for the time being. He actually does pick up from his practice time. So Peter, I think whatever he did on that outlap where he swung it up right up next to that wall, I think that worked pretty well for him because that car is fast here tonight.
Yeah, extremely fast. Paced the way in practice, now pacing the way on the provisional pole here with just 34 seconds left. Here's Alan Capers on the racetrack. He's trying to set a time in that number 13 machine. You see him low coming out of turn number 4 and hits the line. And Capers will jump up into the 8th position at least for a brief moment because AJ Digby in the number 14 machine has jumped up into the 2nd position. Only about a hundredth and a half slower than the 33 of Doug McCollum. So Digby also running a pretty fast lap. There's the number 99, Johnny Berardi. He's coming out of turn number 4 now, but he's not going to be able to get that lap time in, Cameron, because the checkered flag had already thrown, and you don't get to complete your qualifying lap even if the clock expires.
Yeah, that's one of the things in iRacing. It's a bit frustrating as a driver. It's happened to all of us, I think, at least one point or another, but I think he'll be all right. About 16 cars here for tonight's race. Like you said, a pretty long one, about 200 miles, 133 laps here, so it's going to be it's going to take a little while. We'll get your grid situated for you pretty shortly. Your pole sitter, like we said, number 33 of Doug McCollum with the 31442, and the other driver in the 314 second bracket on his outside, AJ Digby.
On row number 2, starting in the 3rd position is the number 3 of Tanner Sharp, and also 4th position is the number 4 of Nate Catilla. So some numerically oriented drivers in row number 2.
Row number 3, a couple of heavy hitters here. Kyle Zimmer, the number 25 machine, and Dave Wilson, number 20.
On row number 4 was the number 9 of Tim Masters on the inside, and to his outside, last week's winner, driver on the number 17 machine, Fernando Matos.
Alan Capers is going to roll off the 9th position, and to his outside, that very beautiful looking orange and yellow machine of Billy Wise.
Starting on row number 6, we have the number 48 of Mark Dingman, and to his outside, the 56 of Tom Johnson, who was the first driver not to take time.
And we'll go ahead and roll off the rest of the grid for you. Kevin Cochran at number 80 is going to start 15th. Brian Lowhead in 14th. Matthew Lesniewski in 15th. We saw have a pretty good... He's been upping his pace recently, so we'll see if that number 24 machine can make something happen tonight. And your 16th place starter tonight, Johnny Berardi in the number 99. And Peter, we saw, like we said in the pre-race last night, this track is a very racing track, and it really tends to have some green flag racing, some action, especially near the end. I think we're going to see a pretty good one tonight, so especially with the SimPossible League. These guys always put on one heck of a show.
Oh yeah, each and every week. And talking about putting on a show, what a race last week was at Daytona International Speedway. We had Fernando Matos going through the grass to get the checkered flag. and get his first career SimPossible Racing League victory. And if you have not seen the finish from last week at Daytona, you're going to have to go back and watch it after this one, because my oh my, I don't think I've seen an iRacing finish like that one in a very, very long time. It was pretty awesome, had us on our edge of our seats. We were not expecting Fernando Matos to get across that line first, because he was out of the picture when he was sliding through the grass, and all of a sudden came back up the track, got to the line first, and Fernando Matos got his first career victory. So I'm expecting to see some action here again tonight.
Absolutely, and you know, one thing that was always prevalent before that was that Fernando Matos was he was due for a victory. Everybody knew that he was going to get one eventually, sooner or later, and to get it that way is pretty awesome. But we're going to be going racing here tonight. Pace car is off field in the hands of number 33 of Doug McCollum, your pole sitter. Good start for everybody. Looks like a bit of a shuffle in the back. Kyle's got a pretty good restart. He's going to go down that number 4 of Nate Catilla, but it's side by side for the second place. Here comes Tanner Sharp on AJ Digby. He's going to look for the lead here from Doug McCollum, but not enough of a run just yet, so we got a lot of threes up there at the front for the time being. Battle for the third position. AJ Digby and Kyle Zimmer off turn number 2. And turn number 2, I think we're going to see that might be the calamity corner tonight. We saw that last night. A lot of drivers having trouble off turn number 2 just because it's a little bit tighter than 3 and 4, so we'll have to see if that's a thing here tonight. But a battle for the lead. Here comes Tanner Sharp. He's looking for it off of Doug McCollum. Not going to be able to get it at the line, I don't think. Just a little, just 19 one-thousandths of a second, the separation between those two. But we're side by side here at the front for the first few rows, Peter.
Yeah, what I heard last night from a lot of drivers is that inside line works for a few laps, and all of a sudden that second groove starts to work quite a bit better. So Tanner Sharp trying to use those 4 fresh Goodyear Eagles to their full potential down there on the inside line. You see him hit some of those bumps, all those contact there coming out of turn number 4, riding on board with the number 25 of Kyle Zimmer, looking ahead. The 14 of Digby right in front of him, and then that side-by-side battle for the race lead. But look at McCollum running way up the racetrack, up in the bumps. AJ Digby thought about taking it 3 wide, but McCollum's in the wall coming out of turn number 2. That's not going to be good for that race car, and that's going to give the lead now to Tanner Sharp.
Yeah, almost 4 positions in the blink of an eye just because he got a little bit too high off turn number 2, and we kind of just mentioned that a minute ago. That's really the toughest corner here at the Kentucky Speedway. But he definitely will probably use a fast car to get that car fixed up, because you do at this track it's really more important than a lot of others. You know, this is a 1.5 mile track like a lot of the ones we do go to. But ooh, Doug McCollum still sideways. That car is still out of control. He was able to save it off of turn number 2, but he's going to lose even more positions down the backstretch, down to about 15th place or so, maybe about 14th, 15th. So Doug McCollum's night not getting off to a good night. He was your pole sitter tonight, but he's going to have to fight from the back now. But back here up at the front, some contact from looks like either Alan Capers or Tim Masters, one of those two. I couldn't see very well there, but that number 33 not having the night so far, but we're only on lap number 5. We've got plenty of racing to go, so he shouldn't be too worried about that. We know Doug McCollum is an old school type driver. He tends to take his time with everything, and he doesn't try to make anything happen too quickly. So I think he will be just fine once he gets that car fixed up and gets it back into contention. But one driver on the move, Dave Wilson, started 6th. He's up to 4th, looking for 3rd on AJ Digby. He has caught up to the back. You can see from the onboard here that the nose of that Viagra-sponsored car, you know, it's got jokes written all over it, but definitely driving it hard tonight.
Oh man, I don't know how I can follow on after that one, but nonetheless, that number 3 of Tanner Sharp has checked out up at the front, and it's a pretty cool scheme on that United States machine. Pretty cool paint scheme, fresh out of the paint booth for Tanner Sharp, leading the way here early on, 5 laps down of this 200-mile event. And look at Kyle Zimmer there sitting in 2nd. I'm going to be interested to see how these drivers tackle this racetrack. You can already start to see that second groove has become the preferred groove. I don't really see too many drivers now down there running on that bottom line. As I said, that Kyle Zimmer is going to go down there, run on that inside line, but there's just not too much grip down there. Oh, someone in the wall. So number 20, Dave Wilson, possibly scraped the wall with the right rear of that machine. And that could just affect the handling of that car. He lost the spot to the 13 of Alan Capers. Alan Capers himself getting some some rear damage. Not quite sure what that's from, but you saw the 20 of Dave Wilson there struggling out of turn number 2 as well, just barely scraping the wall. So it's been not a good 4 corners for that number 20 machine.
And we heard from a lot of the drivers before the race that these cars are pretty tight here tonight. A lot of grip in the track, so that tends to make the car a little bit pushy, especially off the corner. So I think we're going to see that a lot tonight. The 20 got in the wall a little bit the lap after as well, off turn number 2, just a slight little kiss, not any damage that would have been resulted from that hit, but definitely you want to make sure that you don't get too much out of there. Doug McCollum off of the pace right now. He pulled off. Looks like he let a couple cars go, but he doesn't look like he's going to go down pit road, so he might just be kind of just biding his time, knowing his car isn't well right now. He did get in the wall pretty hard, so might just be trying to keep it cool a little bit there. But we have a battle for the 9th position. Billy Wise and Kevin Cochran going at it. Cochran on that outside line, way up there in the almost in the bump, so it looks like he's going to get the good run off of turn number 2 on Billy, try to make the move down the backstretch, and indeed that number 80 does have a pretty good run. They're side by side down the backstretch. See if he can make the move into turn number 3. I don't think that he will be able to clear him. No, he's not, but battle side by side behind them as well. Brian Lowhead and Mark Dingman going at it, but we are definitely seeing, like you said, Peter, this track is widening out already. You can see drivers moving up the track a little bit, and it's only going to get better from here.
Yeah, it's paying dividends for most drivers. One driver it's not paying dividends for, though, is Dave Wilson. He's just in front of this bill as the 66 of Lowhead's going to clear a spot. But Wilson now under fire from Nate Catilla, and Wilson caught the wall on entry into turn number 3 just a lap ago, and that number 20 machine was completely sideways once that car became unglued from the wall. He pretty much dirt trucked it through turn number 3. He's definitely heated up those rear tires that allowed the 4 to close right in, and you can see that Wilson's still starting to struggle as he's now under fire from the 9 of Tim Masters.
And we have a battle for the lead brewing up at the front. Kyle Zimmer has caught Tanner Sharp, but he's running about a 1/10.5 quicker than him. We have some trouble in the back. Looks like Brian Lowhead might have gotten the wall or got loose off of turn number 2, but definitely a little bit off the pace. Looks like he has it under control, but looks like most of the field is getting strung out just a little bit, but up at the front, like I already said, Tanner Sharp and Kyle Zimmer, they're going at it for the lead. Kyle Zimmer just a little bit quicker than Tanner every single lap, and he might have the run here off turn number 2. He definitely has kept his car a little bit lower off the corner, and that is giving him a little bit extra downforce than running right in the wake of that number 3 car. And he's going to make the move into turn number 3. You see him dive it down the bottom of the track, almost on the yellow line. See if he can make the move off of turn number 4. He's not going to have the run. The number 3 is going to have the momentum on the high side, but definitely some good racing here at the front of the pack so far.
And of course, driver number 3, Tanner Sharp, trying to go for 5 wins in the last 6 races here, the SimPossible B car series. But Kyle Zimmer is trying to knock on that door, see if he can get around that number 3 machine. A little bit of a wiggle on the back end of that number 3 coming out of turn number 2. We'll have to keep an eye on that battle for the race lead. But a little bit further back, there's last week's race winner, driver number 17, Fernando Matos, right behind the number 9 of Tim Masters. As that battle for the lead is heated up. Kyle Zimmer going for the lead, going all the way down to the bottom of the tri-oval. As they head off into turn number 1, Kyle Zimmer starting to wash up just a little bit. Just can't quite get the power down. That number 3 will have a run coming out of turn number 2. And for now, Tanner Sharp will hold on to the lead. But Zimmer is coming. I think it's only a matter of time, Cameron.
Absolutely, and Zimmer, a champion in the SimPossible Race League. Tanner Sharp, of course, winning 5 of the last 6. This is an absolute battle of the heavyweights of this league, and these are ex-teammates, so there's a little bit more on the line here. Both want to beat each other more than anyone else on the track, it seems, and we always see these 2 drivers go at it. So it's definitely a good old rivalry here in the SimPossible Race League. Definitely a friendly one, but a good one nonetheless. Kyle Zimmer not able to do anything with that 3 car just yet. Tanner Sharp doing a good job of putting his car exactly where he needs to where Kyle can't get around him. That is right now on the outside line, but looks like through turns 3 and 4, Tanner did actually get a pretty good run and gap the 25 by just a few car lengths. So maybe Tanner might have been saving his tires or something, but he is a sly driver, and we have known him to do things like that before. So there's Dave Wilson on the track. He's fallen back to the 7th position. So definitely not going in the right direction. Some connection issues for I think that's the 80 of Kevin Cochran. And that car is blinking quite heavily right now. We'll see if he can get that fixed up and throwing a little bit of smoke out, but no harm, no foul. Looks like it is all good. Fernando Matos right there, running right where he started in the 8th position up here at the front. These two still going at it, not really able to get away from each other, but they have gapped AJ Digby by about a second and change. And I gotta wonder, maybe AJ is thinking, he definitely is thinking that he wants those two to start battling so he can probably get in the battle himself. So off of turn number 2, I think Kyle Zimmer is definitely better on that end of the speedway off of turn number 2. He's able to keep his car a little bit lower and get a good run down the backstretch doing so, keeping his car out of that arrow wash of Sharp's car. So, but it looks like Tanner is a little bit better on this end of the speedway. So, you know, it's good to see the different driving styles of these two drivers kind of manifest themselves at this racetrack.
Yeah, one thing I'm keeping an eye on is the average lap times, and over the last 5 laps, Tanner Sharp, AJ Digby, Kyle Zimmer, and Nate Catilla have essentially been, on average, a few 1,000ths of a second between each other. Catilla's worked his way up into the 5th position. He's right behind Capers as that battle is heated up for the 4th position. There is that battle. Catilla riding right behind him. Of course, Catilla did start in the 4th position. He lost 1 spot since the start. Meanwhile, Alan Capers, he's been working his way up through the field. Started in 9th, now running in 4th, so he's up 5 positions. Pretty impressive to see that. Kevin Cochran, another one of those drivers, gaining 5 positions since the start of the race. But here comes Catilla. He's going to go down to the inside, show his nose right on Capers in the rearview mirror. And that, as a driver, I know that's somewhat intimidating when you see a car right behind you showing their nose underneath you down the straightaways and all that. So I'm sure Capers is just gonna try and get his head down here and hit his marks. But ooh, here comes Catilla. He sends it. He has to back out of it there to not make contact with that number 13 machine. But Catilla's got a great run coming out of the corner. Now they're going to be side by side down the backstretch. And I think that number 4 machine will take that position. At least not for now. He's right down there on the yellow line. You can see he starts to wash up just a little bit. Gets really close to that left rear quarter panel of the number 13 machine. They're coming out of turn number 4. No contact is made. And we'll look in on this battle for the race lead, which looks like it's not going to be a battle anymore. A little bit of contact there. And Kyle Zimmer leads here at Kentucky.
That was a pretty great move. He just drove it in there, drove it up the track a little bit, and really nothing Tanner could do. He just had to concede the position because 25 was sliding up the racetrack, and Tanner probably not going to be too happy about that. But we know Tanner is not somebody who's going to do anything except say, you know what, I need to lead back, going down right below that yellow line. It is not out of bounds like it was last week, so you can race wherever you want on this racetrack. You can go down to the inside wall if you want. We saw that last night. A couple drivers went down below the apron a lot, so this track, even with as wide it is in the bounds, that is from the wall to the yellow line, there still is a little bit of racing room past that. So really cool to see that. But it looks like Tanner's not going to let Kyle Zimmer get away from him. I think he's going to change up his driving style a little bit. Very adaptable driver Tanner is. He's not going to just let that 25 drive off in the distance. And you can see that really he has closed the gap back up to what it was just a moment ago. But this battle for the 4th position is still going at it, Capers and Catilla. What we saw Catilla do a couple laps ago, Peter, I don't know if you noticed this, but Nate drove it into the corner, and I think Alan Capers was watching his mirror because he drove it in a little bit hard as well, and it made him slide up the track, gave Nick Catilla a pretty good run down the backstretch, and he's actually going to take a position here into turn number 3. But here comes Capers back with a crossover on the bottom of that racetrack, almost under the yellow line. I think he might have been a little bit under it for just a moment, but battle for the lead. Heating back up again. Tanner Sharp says he wants it back. He doesn't want to see that 25 drive away. He's going to try to make a move, but not enough momentum for anything to do right now. But one thing that did have an effect on is AJ Digby. You see from the onboard right now, look at these two still going at it. It looks like Kyle Zimmer got tight off turn number 2. He's going to lose 1st and 2nd to AJ Digby. What I was saying, AJ Digby saw the battle for the lead heat up, and he was actually able to close up his gap, which was around 1.5 seconds or so, and now he's right up in the thick of things.
Yeah, he wasn't quite able to find that grip down there on the inside of turns number 3 and 4. He's now side by side with Kyle Zimmer. It has allowed the 3 of Tanner Sharp to scoot away just a little bit, but look at the number 14 getting a good run through the center of turns number 1 and 2. He's going to clear Kyle Zimmer coming out of turn number 2. So it looks like Zimmer is starting to struggle there on exit out of turn number 2. We saw 2 laps in a row that he lost ground on the cars around him. But now AJ Digby is a player, and he was running down these top 2 drivers even before they started to do battle once again. So I wouldn't be at all surprised to see AJ Digby close in on the back bumper of Tanner Sharp. Maybe he saved his Goodyear Eagles just a little bit. Look at this side-by-side battle now between Tim Masters and Alan Capers. Masters and Capers getting really close coming out of the corner, but that's going to give the position to, it's going to give the position to Tim Masters in that number 9 machine. And so Tim was able to run down Capers. We saw Capers, he was turning some really fast laps not too long ago, but I'm wondering if he's burnt up those tires just a little bit.
Absolutely, especially with that battle with the number 4, how he was having to drive a little bit harder looking in his mirror, so definitely gonna have to look and see about that. He's also got a little bit of rear end damage on that car. I'm not sure if that's going to hurt him at all, but it's definitely that rear end push up a little bit, and he's looks like he's very tied up at turn number 2. Lost a lot of momentum. Looks like he might be under fire from Fernando Matos in just a moment. Actually, that was a little bit closer than I thought. So it looks like Kyle Zimmer. Yeah, it's Kyle Zimmer right there. He's not really able to gain back what he lost a few laps ago, getting tied off at turn number 2. But we have something to report. It looks like the number 33 of Doug McCollum has retired from the event. Your pole sitter tonight, who we saw have trouble in the first few laps of the race. It's like he has taken it behind the wall and called it a day. So definitely not very awesome to see that. We knew that car was one of the fastest ones here, and to see it out this early is definitely a shame.
Yeah, definitely a shame. I mean, we saw that he had so much pace, both in qualifying and in practice, leading the way in both of those sessions. But here tonight does not look like we'll see that number 33 in victory lane unless he can get that machine back out there. Already currently sitting 2 laps down, which is very tough to see. But do want to keep an eye on AJ Digby. He's been running pretty comparable lap times with Tanner Sharp. But we also have a few drivers throughout this field who are starting to make some noise. One of those is Tim Masters. He's currently around 3 3/4 seconds off the lead, but he's actually been the fastest driver out on the racetrack over the last 5 laps. Nate Catilla also faster than your leaders. Then comes Digby, Fernando Matos, and Tanner Sharp, your top 5 fastest drivers over the last 5 laps. But I'm keeping an eye on Tim Masters. That guy's hitting his marks pretty darn well, and slowly but surely closing in on the cars in front of him.
One driver who is not going in the right direction, Alan Capes. You saw him right there off the back of Fernando Matos' car. He just lost the 6th position. We saw him up to about 4th position or so just a few laps ago, and definitely that car not going in the right direction right now. So he's going to have to find some speed in that car, find a way to keep those tires on it a little bit better or something like that, because he's going to have to find some speed later on in this race. But definitely, still very early on. We're only working lap number 32 of 133, so over 100 laps to go. Here's a battle further on in the back for the 11th position. Brian Lowhead and Billy Wise going at it. Looks like Brian Lowhead's going to take that position around the inside pretty easily there. And Billy Wise started in 10th, so he's lost a couple spots from where he started. Brian Lowhead started back in 14th, so he has gained a couple. So Bill. And you see right in front of Brian Lowhead, the number 20 of Dave Wilson. He was your 6th place starter, got up to about 3rd position, hit the wall, and he's fallen all the way back to almost in the clutches of falling out of the top 10. So he definitely needs a caution or a pit stop or something, because that car is well off the pace right now from what we saw earlier.
Yeah, it just does not look right there going through their tri-oval. I think he's really struggling with that number 20 machine. Wouldn't be all surprised to hear that he has some toe damage on that car, because it just doesn't quite look right. It doesn't quite look like he's being able to drive the car. In fact, here he is coming to pit road as we're mentioning. I think, Cameron, he's going to come down, get that fast repair done, so he can get that number 20 machine back up to full song.
Yeah, not a bad decision at all to take that pit stop early, get some tires on it, and maybe gain some time on the field. We know how the cars are running significantly slower right now than they were early on in the run. We'll see what the lap delta is. I'll have to pull some of these lap times up. But at the start of the race, it's about 31s, 31.9s, and now about 33s. So, about a second and change or so, and from the first lap to lap 33. So not as big as I thought, but definitely if he can get some new tires on, run some quicker lap times than the rest of the field for several laps, he can gain some of that time back. It'll hurt him later on in the run, but you know, you kind of have to do that in his position right now. Try to do something, maybe get a caution or something like that, so he can get some of that time that he lost back. But AJ Digby looks like he's hounding our leader Tanner Sharp, running a little bit quicker each lap, about a half a tenth quicker or so, and really, you know, we kind of expected this. AJ Digby, he was your second place starter, lost a couple spots at the beginning, but was able to get he's able to get around them under green flag, and that really shows how truly fast a car is. A little bit further in the back, Alan Caper still looks like he's losing positions left and right. He's now under fire from Kevin Cochran about for that 7th position. Cochran on that outside line. We're going to see if he can get the runoff turn over 4, but no, Caper slides up a little bit. Cochran's going to go even higher. See if he can make the move into turn number 1. I don't think he has the run just yet. And definitely not, because he lost a couple of car lengths right there. So good battling all around the racetrack. We'll have to keep tabs on the 20 of Dave Wilson. He did take his fast repair. He is 1 lap down right now. So he's running 31.8 second lap times right now compared to the leaders, which are running 33.2s. So quite significantly faster for that 20. But we'll see if the strategy works out for him.
Yeah, I was thinking a little bit earlier that this might be a 2-stop race, just barely a 2-stop race. I think these cars can go about 60 or so laps. So I do expect to see 2 green flag stops here tonight, and I do think that what we saw out of AJ Digby was just short pitting a little bit earlier. He's still going to have to make 2 pit stops in this race, probably making another one with about 40 or so laps to go. If it all does stay green. He is currently in the lucky dog spot if we were to catch caution, but nonetheless, Dave Wilson does have a little bit of work left to do. And speaking of work left to do, the number 14 of AJ Digby has lost a decent chunk of ground on your race leader Tanner Sharp, who is now turning some very, very good lap times. In fact, Digby was about a tenth slower that last time by, and Digby now sits about 7/10 of a second behind your race lead.
And one of the fastest cars on track right now, Nick, he's actually coming to pit road this time. I was going to say, last time he ran a 33.333 in the 4 car, so a nice little number play right there, but he's on pit road. We'll see if he's going to try something here with the strategy, and I think this is probably going to open the window for most of the rest of the field. They're not going to want to lose too much time, especially Nick Cotillo being about 3 seconds behind the lead when he came to pit road or so. So I think Tanner Sharp, AJ Digby, Kyle Zimmer, those guys are going to have to start thinking about pitting here pretty shortly to make sure they don't lose as much ground as they would if they pitted at the end of their fuel run. So definitely have to keep an eye on that. Kevin Cochran making his way up to 6th position. He's a couple second, or is about a second behind Fernando Matos, a couple, 100 feet down the road. So definitely that number 80 doing pretty good right now. We've seen him have good runs in this league, and a pretty solid driver. Not spectacular in what he does, but does it well. So we'll have to see if he can get a good run out of tonight. But most of the rest of the field has cooled off on their battles a little bit, quite spread out. Number 24 of Matthew Lesniewski on a pit road as well. So I think we're going to see the floodgates open for cars pitting here in just a moment. Alan Capers running in the 7th position. There's the 24 on pit road now, as we already said. Nice little car right there. It's something we saw in the Cup Series a few years ago. Dale Jr. drove it, and I always loved that car, even though it ran in the back with the 88. But either way, speaking of Dale Jr., the number 3 Mountain Dew car has about a 1.3 second lead on AJ Digby right now. So maybe if I was AJ Digby, I'm thinking probably about coming to pit road pretty shortly here. See if I can gain some of that ground that I've lost on the 3 car back.
Yeah, Digby is really suffering right now. In fact, last time by, he was 3.5 tenths slower than that number 3 machine. I can only think Digby's trying to get to some kind of window here, because he is just losing tons and tons of time on that number 3 machine up the front. Tanner Sharp, I would be all surprised to see if we see a preemptive strike down pit road by that number 3 machine, trying to one-up the drivers around him. He's got a fairly significant margin now. He's up to 2 seconds over AJ Digby, just to give you an indication on how much this lead has ballooned pretty quickly. I think it was just about 3 or 4 laps ago I said that he was only a second behind. And so Digby really struggling with that number 14 machine right now. And as is Kyle Zimmer. I mean, Zimmer and Digby are running fairly comparable lap times, but Zimmer himself 2/10 of a second slower than Digby last time by. As you can see, those lap times between your top two driver there at the bottom of your screen this time by, it wasn't that big of a difference. But nonetheless, AJ Digby currently rides in the second position. Good run for Tim Masters, currently sitting in fourth. He's about 6 seconds off the race lead. Looking at the last few lap times, last time by, Dave Wilson was the fastest driver on the racetrack, but of course he does have fresher tires than most of those drivers around him. He ran a 32.3 second lap, so he's still about a second faster than the cars around him. I'm wondering if he might be thinking about a 3-stop strategy versus a 2-stop strategy to see if maybe he has the opportunity to, pace himself such that he's able to use those tires to their full advantage for a shorter period of time and make up the ground the hard way doing so. But here's a battle. Kevin Cochran in the number 80 machine doing battle with last week's winner, number 17 of Fernando Matos. A little bit of right side damage on the number 17. They're side by side coming out of turn number 4, and I believe that number 80 is going to take that position. So move the number 80 of Kevin Cochran up into the top 5, at least for now, as these pit stops continue to cycle through.
Yeah, and you saw that the number 4 of Nakula, he was significantly faster. He pitted a few laps after Dave Wilson and has fresh tires in that car, and he almost slid up the track in turns 3 and 4 and got into the 17 of Fernando Matos. He actually had to make a bit of an evasive maneuver. Just one of the things that is pretty prevalent when you have green flag pit stops like this, when you have different strategies, you'll have cars that are significantly faster, pretty much just fly by you, and there's not much you can do about it. And if you're either the driver passing someone that's slower or you're the driver that's getting past, it's kind of a scary situation. And I know you've been in that situation, Peter. It's a track like Texas or Atlanta with super high tire wear. It's something that really is kind of harrowing as a driver.
Yeah, a track like Kentucky is one of the better tracks to, be on the fresher tires versus a bunch of people on older tires, because the track is so wide and has multi-grooves. But, there are other racetracks in iRacing that are fairly single-grooved, and when you're on those fresher tires, it can be an absolute struggle trying to get around those other cars around you, because you're going to have to go where you don't want to go to get around them, and that's just no fun, and actually can work out losing you plenty of time.
Yeah, actually, one of the Dave Wilson, the first driver to pit tonight, he's only 5 seconds from unlapping himself from Tanner Sharp, so he was quite a bit behind. I think actually when this cycles through, he might actually cycle through to being the leader or second place or something right there. There's Fernando Matos coming down pit road as well, so we're going to go ahead and go through the field for you. Not yet, though. We're going to let the pit stops cycle through. But definitely we're seeing the more cars come down pit road. So Matos, a little bit of right side damage on that car. He'll definitely get that fixed up with a fast repair. There's Billy Wise. He was on pit road a few laps ago. Kyle Zimmer on pit road. He was third place driver. So that's probably gonna tell AJ Digby and Tanner Sharp that they absolutely need to come down pit road now or next lap. So I think in that number 3 car, he's probably gonna be telling his crew, get ready for me. I'm coming down this time by, maybe next time by, maybe he might stretch it. We don't know. We can only speculate up here in the booth. It doesn't look like he's coming down this time. He's not slowing down. He's going to swing out there and get himself. But driver who's on the move right now, Dave Wilson, he's passing AJ Digby right now for effectively second place on track as far as cars go. Of course, he is still 1 lap down. Cochran on pit road as well. So this is really an interesting part of the race right here, Peter, where all these strategies are going to start coming together, and everybody's going to start cycling through. So I'm really going to be interested to see where that 20 of Wilson, as well as Nate Catilla, who pitted just a few laps after Wilson, where they're going to cycle through, because they have been significantly faster than everybody else for quite a few laps at this point. And we might just see those 2 drivers go ahead and take the lead.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how it all cycles out because I'm looking at Dave Wilson. He's currently got 18 laps on his tires versus like Tanner Sharp and Digby, who now have 52. Here comes Mark Dingman on pit road. He's going to elect to come down in that machine. Been a fairly quiet night for Dingman, but nonetheless, he's kept that number 48 machine nice and clean. No incidents to report with that Chevy Camaro. Currently coming down to his pit box at 50 miles an hour. There's the number 9, Tim Masters, who's worked his way up to the 3rd position with all this pit stops going on. There's the number 13, Alan Capers, riding in the 4th position. And behind him is Brian Lowhead. And the number 66, there he is, running a little bit higher on the racetrack. And there is Kevin Cochran right behind him. Cochran, one of those drivers who has come down pit road. I'm looking at the current tally. Dave Wilson's the first car 1 lap down. He's been that way for quite some time, pretty much ever since he made his first pit stop now 19 or 20 laps ago or so. And he's, in a pretty good spot. He's actually almost at the spot where he could unlap himself. Oh, here comes the number 13, Alan Capers, from the top groove. Had to slam on the brakes and come down to the apron, and he's now on pit road nice and safely. Cameron, no issues with these cars getting to pit road tonight. I know we saw that last night in the Sam Maxwell Customs Truck Series that we broadcast on Tuesday nights, but so far everything clean getting to pit road.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's not a easy to get on. It's a bit of an acute angle, that pit road compared to the sweeping front stretch. But well, we have a battle. Let's look at the number 4 of Nate Catilla and the 20 of Dave Wilson. They're currently battling for the lucky dog position, and I think that's going to be the effective lead once Tanner Sharp hits. That number 4 is the fastest car on the racetrack right now. He's several tenths faster than the 20 of Wilson, so a lot of speed in that number 4 at the time being. He's really gotten that car under himself, and oh, Dave Wilson in the wall hard. Looked like he was fishtailing down the front stretch, but not going to help his chances again. That number 20 has relatively struggled all night tonight, but it's not something we typically see out of Dave Wilson. We typically see him out front leading races, and just doesn't look like he's been able to have that car under him like he's wanted to. But look at number 4 of Nate Catilla. He's absolutely flying right now. He's getting around Tanner Sharp probably next lap, because he is running 32.9 second laps to 33.4s for Tanner Sharp. So about a second and a half faster per lap, and the gap is only about half a second now.
Yeah, the big question will be, will Tanner Sharp be able to make it to the halfway mark? That would be about lap 67. So Tanner Sharp will have to go another 10 or so laps to make it to halfway, to make it only a 1-stop race, which would definitely be an interesting strategy move, with a lot of the other drivers at least electing for a 2-stop strategy. But we'll be able to find out here in about 10 laps time whether or not he has enough fuel left in the tank to get to that point.
Yeah, that would definitely be a trump card right there if Tanner Sharp's able to make it halfway. I'm not sure if he will be able to, but definitely he's going to try. If you have to save a lap or 2 of fuel, it'll pay you dividends later on in the race. And this definitely has the look of a green flag race right now. It looks like there's a lot of people spread out. Not too much racing going on right now. It looks like everybody's just kind of riding around and trying to get themselves to the end. I can't imagine we're going to go fully caution-free until the end, but definitely that's not something that we have not seen in the SimPossible racing. We've had a few caution-free races here and there, so it's not something out of the realm. There's Dave Wilson going by Tanner Sharp now. We're on board with your race leader, and even though he's pretty much getting past relatively easy by all these cars 1 lap down, he's not too worried about it because he's on his own strategy, and you can't worry about what other people are doing around you. About to get passed by Kyle Zimmer here in just a moment. He's right there on the bottom of the racetrack, gonna get around him pretty easily there. That's really our best battles on the track right now, is people unlapping themselves, so we'll keep an eye on these pit strategies as they come through. In about 10 laps time, I would have to imagine that they're gonna cycle through and end.
Yeah, and I'm keeping an eye on that number 3 machine. I think he's going to pit very, very soon. I'm getting word that number 3 thought about coming down pit road this last time by, and so I think we're going to see him come down. Yes, here he goes down pit road. Driver in number 3, Tanner Sharp, He's going to hit 50 miles an hour right at the stripe. So really good pit entry for Tanner. Here comes the number 9 of Tim Masters. He also got down to 50 miles an hour right there on entry. So we have not seen any issues getting to pit road tonight, and that's pretty much going to cycle through the field. We're gonna be able to see if AJ Digby, who's still out there on the track, I don't think Digby's going to be able to get an extra few laps out of it. We'll see if Digby pits this time by. Tom Johnson also out there on track. No, Tom has made it to pit road this time. Still green flag here. And Tanner Sharp getting word that he overshot his pit box just ever so slightly. Had to reverse, and that will lose a little bit of time for that number 3 machine. But look at the number 14 of Digby. Cameron, we saw him all of a sudden start to lose a ton of time on the race leader. Do you think he was saving fuel?
Yeah, I think he's shutting his engine off, clutching or something, because you can hear it there on the replay. He's definitely doing something to limit the RPMs, limit the engine. Right there, you see the tach spun all the way down to 0, so he's shutting off the engine going into turn number 1, seeing if he can make it to halfway, and that's definitely, if he can do that, that would be a huge advantage for him if he can save enough fuel to make it to halfway, because nobody else looks like they're going to be able to do that, because he's the only car on track right now that has not pitted. He's got about 18 seconds on Nate Catilla, who shut the engine off again, was not able to slow it down. He's way up the track in turns 3 and 4, letting all the other cars by, but no worry to him. He's not worried about those cars because he needs to just make it to halfway, and I believe he's got about, what, 2 laps to go before he gets there. So I think, you know, if this strategy works out, it's going to be a huge advantage for AJ Digby.
Yeah, but one thing about this strategy is you lose so much time clutching that car through the middle of the corner, especially on this racetrack where your mid-corner speed is so high. As you see him again start to wash up through the center of the corner. About 2 more laps until I expect to see that number 14 on pit road, if he can stretch it that far, as he hits the stripe this time for lap number 66. Oh, we do have the number 66, Brian Lowhead, on pit road. Looks like he might be serving some form of penalty, so that's going to be a tough break for the 66 of Lowhead.
And just looking at the gap to the leader right now, AJ Digby has about 15 seconds on Kyle Zimmer, who has gotten around Nate Catilla. Looks like AJ Digby's probably going to come down pit road this time by. He's slowing down. Looks like he is pulling below that yellow line, so make sure he gets a little bit loose, but keeps it straight down to 50 miles an hour at the line. All good on there. Looks like he's stuttering a little bit. Did the tach not? He's actually out of fuel, I believe, so he's going to have to. It's going to be Gonna have to see if he can make it to his pit stall. I think he's gonna be just fine.
I think he's able to get up to 50 miles an hour. That car, I think, is still sputtering. Up to see how he gets to his pit box. Looks like he's got to his pit box quite well. He is going to use a fast repair, so he did have a little bit of rear end damage, but that will be fixed. We'll have to see how it all cycles out. Kyle Zimmer is your new race leader as this all continues to cycle through. It's currently Kyle Zimmer, Nate Catilla, Dave Wilson, Fernando Matos, and then comes Tanner Sharp, the driver who's led pretty much the entire first half of this event, all but a few laps there right towards the end of the first half, because we have now reached the halfway mark in tonight's 200-mile event at the Kentucky Speedway.
And Kyle Zimmer has about, looks like 11 seconds on Tanner Sharp, so you just see how huge that advantage is. On pit road with those fresh tires. There's AJ Digby right in front of the leader, comes out pit road. He's going to easily gap that number 25 car, having no laps on those tires. So he's going to pretty much have to, if I'm AJ Digby, I'm probably going to start saving a little bit of fuel right now and see if I can get my speed later on in the run where I'm going to really need it. So we'll see if he's doing that. I don't think he's probably going to do that just yet. You can see that tach running all the way up to about 9,000 RPMs down the backstretch. So right now he's probably focused on just getting as much time as he can back and saving a little bit later on the run so he can get some speed down there where he needs it.
Yeah, and I'm gonna watch the delta on the racetrack between Tanner Sharp and AJ Digby. Currently, it's 21 seconds, and if you're Tanner Sharp, you're just going to come down and take a splash of fuel. You're probably not going to come down and take tires. You might take right side tires or something like that, but I don't think you're going to take 4 fresh tires, as Tanner Sharp's going to take third spot away from Dave Wilson, because Tanner's only going to need a splash of fuel. He's the number 20 hard in the outside wall. And hard in the inside wall coming up the racetrack. Caution will be out here at Kentucky Speedway. There is the caution. And we just went 69 laps. Green flag racing. And Dave Wilson, unfortunately, going around there, hit the outside wall, bounced back down, hit the inside wall. Hard hit there, Cameron. Kind of hitting one of those openings, I think, down there on the backstretch. That number 20 machine is toast. Luckily, he'll be able to use a fast repair. Watching this from the helicopter cam. I don't think that was helicopter cam. I think that was, just a hard hit down there. And it'll be interesting to see, Cameron, now that the caution is out, do you think Digby's going to come down and pit? I mean, he was just on pit road a lap or two ago. But I think he will come back down pit road, but at least he has proved to us that he'll be able to go the rest of the way on fuel.
You know, that's interesting. If I'm AJ Digby, I probably would, but I would not take 4 tires. I'd probably just take 2 and make sure that I'm good to the end, just so I can try to get some track position back. But we see Kyle Zimmer on pit road. There's most of the rest of the field behind. It looks like AJ Digby is going to stay out, so proving me wrong right there. So he should be the effective leader if Fernando Matos decides to come down and pit. We'll see if he does actually stay out or not, but definitely an interesting piece of strategy.
And we'll have to see how everything plays out once they come off pit road. It will be the 25 of Kyle Zimmer, the 4 of Nate Catilla, and the 3 of Tanner Sharp, your first 3 cars off pit road, followed by Tim Masters and Kevin Cochran there. But like you said, Cameron, Fernando Matos, and AJ Digby both still out there on the racetrack, along with the 9, I believe. No, excuse me, that's the 66 of Brian Lowhead there behind the 17 of Matos. The 66 and the 9 have very similarly schemed cars, both red, white, and blue. Sometimes a little bit difficult to tell between those two at a quick glance, but there is Lowhead's machine. He was 2 laps down due to a penalty on pit road, and so he, I think, will try and stay out to see if he can get a waiver around here. Fernando Matos coming on pit road. I'm being corrected by my producer. He says he was actually 3 laps down at one point. So there is Matos. Matos coming down. Alongside him, the number 13 of Alan Capers. A couple of drivers pre-race were joking around with Alan, saying it was going to be able for him to hit the cones here at this racetrack. They're so far off the racing surface, but I'm sure the 13 of Capers will somehow find a way to get those cones at some point in this race. But it will be interesting once we go back to green flag racing, because AJ Digby in that number 14 machine, he will have a hard charging Kyle Zimmer right behind him. And let's see if we can dial up that number 14 machine of AJ Digby. Here he is, AJ Digby. Peter Short, you got a copy?
Yeah, I do.
All right, man. We saw you saving your life away there to get to the halfway mark in that number 14 machine. It looked like you were sputtering on pit road. Decided not to come down pit road. Of course, you just had 4 fresh tires, but on that machine just a few laps to go. Do you think your tires are going to make a difference in comparison to these other cars that just pitted around you?
Some of these other cars will have a little bit faster tires. It won't be a huge difference. I really only got out there for about a lap or 2. I was really hoping it would have stayed green. I had the halfway point perfectly. I would have been able to make it on fuel and able to win this thing on a 1 stop, but tables turned a little bit and got a caution, and so I debated going in or not, but at that point I would have been at the back of the pack and decided to stay up here and see what happens. It'll be close on fuel for me as well, and they'll have fresher tires, but it's a little bit better than probably just going to start 12th here on this start. But if there's another caution, I might be able to pop in and there, but I don't feel like tire-wise I'm that far apart from these guys, and fuel-wise I think I can make it to the end. it'll be close, and it might be a bad call in the end. But might as well try it while I committed to it.
All right, well, AJ, best of luck here. We'll let you get back to it as pace car lights are off, and hopefully we get to talk to you here in just a little bit. All right, well, that is driver of the number 14 machine, AJ Digby, and I believe we might be able to listen into Wayne Lowe here on the restart, which would be pretty cool to listen to. Wayne Lowe, spotter for the number 4 machine.
Go back to green, just about 60. We're going to be right on the window of fuel here. Pace car's in. Steady. Steady. You're in a good spot there. Steady. 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 Green, 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 green. Good start. Right on him. Outside 25. 25 outside upstairs. You have him tight. You're tight on him. Tight on him. Tight. In. Outside. 25 outside. 3's going to go with him. 3 upstairs. 1 at your fender, 1 at your quarter. Tight quarter. 3 outside. 3 outside only. Side by side. You're at his door. You have a full car width. At his door, side by side. Tight, tight, tight. At his quarter. At his quarter. He's clear of you. He's clear. Okay. Clear by 1 car length behind you. Settle in. Hit your marks. You're better on a long run than they are.
All right, that was live listening with Wang Lo and Nate Catilla. The number 14 restarted in the 3rd position. We saw him briefly there get up into 2nd, but you heard the hard charging number 25 and number 3 to his outside. And Zimmer and Sharp have gotten up into the 2nd and 3rd place respectively. And AJ Digby showing us that tires don't really matter too much. He's been able to scoot away by about 3 or 4 car lengths over Kyle Zimmer, although Zimmer got a fantastic run there coming through turns number 1 and 2, and he's going to try and chase down that number 14 machine.
Yeah, and that was some good communication we heard from the 4 of Nate Catilla from his spotter. Just kind of telling him, take it easy, you are better on the long run. That number 4 was one of the fastest cars on the long run that we saw. So I think, he really just needs to do that and kind of chill. I think he can get a good result out of this race. But Kyle Zimmer wanting to move right now. He's looking under AJ Digby, not able to do anything just yet, but definitely is keeping that car a little bit lower off turn number 2. We might have the run down the backstretch. We might have a battle for the lead here because that number 25 is right on the bumper of the 14 into 3. He's going to dive it down low, drive it into the corner, see how hard he can, see if he can make the move. But I don't think he's going to have enough momentum off the corner to do anything just yet. But definitely that number 25 showing a lot of speed right now.
Yeah, and that number 25 for Kyle Zimmer has gone downstairs underneath the number 14 machine, at least there through the trial, and now comes back at him through turns number 1 and 2. Nothing doing just yet, as here comes Tanner Sharp with a great run coming through the center of turns number 1 and 2. He's going to dive down to the inside halfway down the back stretch. So side-by-side battle now for the 2nd position. Tanner Sharp trying to get back to the lead where we've seen that number 3 Do Nation machine, or United States machine, I should say. There's too many Mountain Dew references here and there, and he's going to move that machine into the 2nd position right behind the number 14 of AJ Digby.
And look who has Kyle Zimmer. He drove it on the outside of Tanner Sharp. Looked like he was going to try to gas up and try to make a move, but got a little bit tight off turn number 2. He's going to be under fire from the 4 of Nate Catilla here, looking for the 3rd position. We know that 4 is very strong. If he can just get himself in the right position, he looks like he is there now, but I think Kyle Zimmer, he's going to have to run off turn number 4 on that outside line. Going to not have a challenge from behind at the time being, but a battle for the lead brewing up. That United States car, like you said, Peter, we know he's been fast all night. Those 2 drivers, Digby and Sharp, have been rivals all season, and I think Tanner Sharp's going to get a good run here off turn number 2. About a couple laps fresher tires. It doesn't sound like that much of a difference, but here he comes down into turn number 3, driving in the corner on that inside line. See if he can do something for hook that car around the bottom and get around Digby, but I don't think it's going to happen just yet. But a pretty good run. He stays side by side off turn 4, and Kyle Zimmer, he's got to be loving seeing what he's seeing in his windshield, seeing those 2 go side by side, because that's going to bring him right back in the battle, as well as Nate Catilla. So pretty good stuff here on lap 82 of this race.
Yeah, Digby's number 14 pushed there right through the center of the corner. He got a little bit tight, had to back out of the throttle just a little bit. That allowed the number 3 of Tanner Sharp to pull ahead there, but Digby's coming back now through 3 and 4, trying to hang on the right rear quarter panel of the 3. Not quite able to do so, at least for now, but the number 14's got a good run. The number 3 just slides up in front of him, but here comes Digby now on the low side.
That was a crossover and a half right there. He just from the outside line to the inside line into turn number 1, but not going to be able to do anything with it because Kyle Zimmer is on his outside, but Digby's able to clear him. Here comes Kyle Zimmer back on the inside. So these cars juking all over the racetrack right now. Zimmer's going to drive it off into turn number 3, very deep in the corner, but Digby's going to fight back on the outside line. He's got that preferred groove to keep somebody at bay. That's really what it is. That outside line is kind of the groove where you want to be to not get past that, but he clears the 25. See if he can make a move on Tanner Sharp into turn number 1. No, he's not close enough, but he's got to set up his pass for about a lap, or looks like he's a little high through 1 and 2. He might be under fire from Zimmer here again off of turn number 2, but keeps that momentum up on the car and doesn't get tight this time. So a bit of a battle in the back. Looks like Fernando Matos pulling out on Dave Wilson. Dave Wilson still struggling in that number 20 car, so he's going to be under fire from Fernando for that 6th position, but still battling here up at the front for second place, Digby and Zimmer. Zimmer is on that inside line. He's going to go all the way to the inside line, below that apron, but Digby is using the outside line pretty effectively right now, doing exactly what he needs to do to keep Zimmer at bay. But we had a change of position behind them. Tim Masters was able to get around Nate Catilla. Nate Catilla, ooh, a bit of a gaggle right there. They looked like they were about to go 3 wide, as I forget how to use my words here for a moment, but a bit of a battle behind there. That's Masters, Dave Wilson, and Catilla close there off turn number 4. They almost made contact, and Fernando Matos seeing this happen in front of his windshield, and he's got to be loving it.
Yeah, there was almost contact there between the number 4 and the number 20, but here comes the 4 of Nate Catilla underneath the 9 of Tim Masters. We saw Masters get around that number 4 machine, like you said, but my, oh my, Dave Wilson was down there on the inside line, and I think he might have clipped the apron or something because that number 20 Viagra machine got way up out of shape there through the corner. In fact, he hit the apron again through 3 and 4, just a little bit of a wiggle this time, not as much as through turns number 1 and 2. But we ride on board with the number 4 of Nate Catilla. He's got Fernando Matos to his outside. Can't quite see Matos, but number 4 is going to dive it down into turn number 1. Drove it in there so deeply that he's going to push up here on exit. But he is going to clear Fernando Matos, at least for now. Matos had a run. Matos wisely decides to back out of it, but up front, Kyle Zimmer has finally gotten around AJ Digby, and Zimmer is going to try and close in on your race leader, Tanner Sharp.
Tanner has about an 1/8 of a second lead on Zimmer right now. We know that 25 is very fast in the long run. He ran Tanner Sharp down last last run and caught him from about a second back. So we'll have to wait and see if he's able to match that once again. We're working lap number 88, 46 laps to go here at Kentucky. Still battling back in the pack for about 4th position. Tim Masters and Nate Catilla going at it. Nate Catilla wants the 4th position in the 4th car. He's going to drive it off into turn number 3. That number 4 is very good on the brake side, driving it very deep in the corner, but it's not helping him on the exit too much because here comes Fernando Matos on that outside line. I think he's actually going to get around Nate Catilla at the line, and yes, he does, by just a few 1,000ths of a second. The number 17 showing a lot of speed right now on the outside. See if he can probably do something with that number 9. But here comes Catilla back on the inside. He's not going to let that position go early or easily. We know he's not going to want to do that. So off turn number 2, side by side down the backstretch for those 2 cars. We'll see who has the advantage. I think that actually looks like Fernando might have got a little bit too high there, so he's going to let the 4 by. Not going to be able to keep the momentum up in that car. But Kevin Cochran is going to be able to get around Dave Wilson right now. Number 20 is very loose off 4. There's something wrong with that car. The car has just not been all right for him all night, and a lot of problems we've seen. We saw him bring out our one and only caution of the race so far. So you know, that number 20 is definitely not having a typical Dave Wilson run. Just struggling all night at this point.
Yeah, it's definitely been a tough night for Dave Wilson. We ride on board with him, and you see him. Looks like he clipped the apron there again. A little bit squirrely. He had to check up again, and here comes the number 13 of Alan Capers to his outside. It's been kind of interesting out of Dave Wilson. I've noticed a lot of other drivers have migrated up the racetrack to the second groove, but Wilson's been pretty steadfast to that inside line, and I think he's just burning up his tires. As you see this side by side up near the front, that's the number 32 of Billy Wise. He just came down pit road just a few laps to go. He's side by side with Kyle Zimmer. Billy currently sitting 2 laps down. He's going to try and get one of those laps back, see if he can get around the number 3 of Tanner Sharp right in front of him. Tanner, of course, is your race leader, but Zimmer is still showing muscle. He's trying to see if he can find a way around Billy Wise at this present moment in time, but Billy's going to send it down there on that inside line in that bright red and yellow paint scheme. Pretty cool to see flames on that car. But Zimmer, it looks like Zimmer definitely got tied up off that corner, maybe a little bit of the aero wash off that number 30 machine. But here comes Billy. He's going to try and get to be only 1 lap down. Currently, there's only one other driver on who's 1 lap down. But we do have a driver on pit road. That would be the number 20 of Dave Wilson. Oh, he's off track. He has taken that number 20 machine to the garage. So Cameron, I think there was definitely something up with that number 20 tonight. It's been a tough night for him. It's been a struggle all night long, but unfortunately, he's finally taken that thing to the garage.
Yeah, and he's got to be super happy to get on the bus, the helicopter, the drone, whatever he flies. He's already left the facility, so he's probably got to be happy to get back to or get over to New Hampshire and get next week's race started and underway, because that just was a night of struggles for the 20. Really not all typical of what we expect from Dave Wilson. So definitely a bit of a shock, but he definitely will be back next week. We're still battling here further on the back for the 4th position. Tim Masters and Nate Catilla. Actually, this battle encompasses about from 3rd place to about the 7th place. That's Kevin Cochran at the back of the pack and led by AJ Digby. We know he's got about 2 laps or 3 laps for older tires than most of everyone else. So maybe it doesn't sound like a lot, but that might be affecting him at this point in the race. You see how high he is off turn number 4. You really don't want to be that high unless you need to be if you have a car below you or something. But definitely, he's got a lot of hungry drivers behind him waiting to take his position away from him.
Yeah, and Billy Wise, when he got up in front of that number 3 of Tanner Sharp, gave Tanner Sharp some dirty air, and Kyle Zimmer was able to close in on him pretty rapidly. That last time by, Kyle Zimmer got tight coming out of turn number 2, and he got dirty air. He had to roll out of it, so he kind of went back to about where he was before Billy Wise unlapped himself. But yeah, we watched this battle from 3rd place on through 7th. Kevin Cochran there using a little bit higher groove, poking hit the nose of that number 80 machine out right there at the back of this gaggle. And here comes Fernando Matos peeking his nose to the outside of the 4 of Catilla, but Catilla's going to dive it down in there like we've seen all night long. Catilla getting that run through the middle of the corner, washing up just a little bit, staying right behind the number 9 of Tim Masters, who's lost a couple car lengths off the back of AJ Digby, and Digby still just holding on quite well. Going to look at lap times over the last few laps. Last time by, Digby was... Oh, the number 9, Tim Masters, sideways contact, and the number 9 is around. Oh, hard at the inside wall. He hit exactly where Dave Wilson hit. I expect the caution flag to fly here once again at Kentucky. Nothing just yet. There is the caution.
So we're working our 2nd caution of the night. Looks like the number 4 might have gotten to the back of Tim Masters, and that car just went around, like you said, Peter, hit the inside wall about exactly like the 20 did, and not much you can do when that car gets sideways there. There's not much banking to help keep the car straight. So like number 4, Nate Catilla, just got in the gas a little bit earlier than the 9, and there he went around. Some damage on the front end of the 17 of Matos as well, so he'll probably want to come get that fixed. But we are definitely on the back end of this event. 35 laps to go when we get to the line, and no fuel is not an issue for anyone anymore at this point. And I think we're going to see the aggressiveness pick up. We've seen a lot of calmness in this race, definitely from onboard of Matos. You see he did get into the side of Masters quite hard there. So front end got to be a little bit tweaked on that machine, but fuel not an issue anymore for any of these drivers. The aggressiveness is going to pick up most definitely. See everybody come down pit road except for Alan Capers. He's going to stay out to lead a lap, I believe. Billy Wise looks like he's going to take the wave around. He did not get the lucky dog, actually. Brian Lowhead was the one who was the first car 1 lap down at the time of the caution. But I expect to see all these drivers take 4 tires and I think maybe a little bit of fuel just to keep just to calm the nerves a little bit. So everybody in their pit stall pretty good, so I expect that we'll probably come off pit road as we all came on. down and away. Tanner Sharp followed closely by Kyle Zimmer and then AJ Digby. So exactly as they all came on, and Nate Catilla. So definitely no worry about fuel anymore for these drivers. No worry about tires really anymore either. You want to save as much as you can, but you aren't going to have a 60-lap run or so like we had at the beginning of the race. So you're going to see the intensity pick up from this point, Peter.
Yeah, and it's just a tough break for Dave Wilson. One might say it has been a hard night for him.
On that note, we're going to go ahead and talk to our leader, Tanner Sharp. He's had a pretty good night so far, to say the least. Tanner Sharp, got a copy?
Yes, sir.
Well, I don't know what to say. You've pretty much there leading most of this race, going for, 5 wins in 6 races, and just out here really putting on a clinic. You're going to have about 33, 32 laps to go when we get the green flag once again, and it looks like you're pretty well controlling things. What's kind of your strategy for the rest of this race?
Well, we had a pretty good lead, and I think AJ kind of leaned back on that first run before the green flag pit stops to save some gas, and he certainly did. He was able to stretch a little bit more. We really dropped it to the end of the tank on that first green flag stretch, and then we had a lot of guys who pitted early, so we were kind of really catching those guys, and that caution came out. And then we were starting to race a little bit with Zimmer and Digby. And once we got the lead, we were thinking a little bit of fuel strategy, and my clutch was not working for me to save some gas. So it was just a matter of keeping track of how much you're getting into the gas and how much you're out of the gas. And Zimmer kept a little pressure on us just a little bit, but we were able to keep it out front. And then thankfully the caution came out, so that threw fuel out the window. So now, since we're the race leader, we're just going to try to keep this thing out front and keep doing what we're doing all night long.
It's doing pretty well for you at the point in the race, and you're gonna have not too many laps to go on when we get going green, so no worry about fuel or tires or anything at this point. So probably just gonna be a straight sprint to the end. Looks like your biggest competition is probably Kyle Zimmer right now. So we know you two have had battles, plenty of times in this league. So one thing I kind of talked about early on this race, we know you two used to be teammates. Is there kind of a little bit of a, like a rivalry there with the 25? Not a grudge rivalry, but like a friendly one where you really want to beat him?
When we're on the track, it's all business. We might not be teammates and all that or share information, but we'll try to work with each other if we want to, like on a plate track or something like that. But usually on tracks like this, man, you got to control your own destiny and keep control of your own car. There isn't really much help in here on tracks like this. But Zimmer's a great guy. We're good friends off track. We do talk when we get the chance, and but we don't talk about a whole lot racing. But we do. We just like coming on iRacing here and racing with each other. Keep an eye out for that 14-4 too. I think those two guys back there are some good competition as well.
All right. Well, you said it yourself. Control your own destiny, and that's exactly what you're about to do because you're going green here in just a moment. So we'll let you get back to what you're doing, and good luck the rest of this race. We hope to talk to you again afterwards.
10-4. Thank you.
All right, so you heard from Tanner Sharp. Peter, not much to say from there. He just says he's going to go out there and do what he needs to do for the rest of this race.
Yeah, and that's pretty much what he's been doing all year coming into the night. He had led 679 laps so far this season in the V-Car Series, which is just an insane amount of laps. He's definitely gone over the 700 lap lead mark for the season. He's going to lead another one here as we're going set to go back to green flag racing. Green flag in the air. That number 3 machine got a good restart, but so did the number 25 Tanner Sharp to his outside. The number 3 just barely getting to the line first. But Kyle Zimmer holding tough out there. And look at AJ Digby. Digby now on equal tires with all the cars around him. We'll have to see what he can do as he's underneath the 25 of Zimmer coming out of turn number 2. A lot of cars getting really close to the wall. Tom Johnson back there clipping the outside wall just a little bit as all the leaders now diving off into turn number 3 and 4. And there is Tanner Sharp. He's cleared Zimmer coming out of turn number 4. And Digby now slots in behind the number 25 machine as well. And Nate Catilla behind him. Really, it's a 4-car breakaway ever so. Oh, contact!
Ooh, trouble!
Digby
Contact!
has been contacted by Nate Catilla, and what a save by AJ Digby. That's not what Digby wanted to see, but that car was completely sideways. What a save. We'll go back and watch this one on replay.
Yeah, I think it would be appropriate to have some Eurobeat land while this one happened because this is absolutely initial D move right here. You see contact with the number 4, and that car was pretty much about 30 degrees sideways. Saved it, only lost about, what, 4 positions or so, and able to get his car back going straight and not lose too many positions and definitely not lose a car. So good piece of driving by AJ Digby. He's not going to be happy about it. He's probably shouting some expletives in his helmet that we can't broadcast on air, but you know, all things considered, it could be a lot worse, but definitely at the end of the race, that's not something you want to have happen. But you know, that did move Nate Catilla up to the 3rd position, and look at the number 80 of Kevin Cochran behind him. He started all the way back at 13th. He's made his way up to 4th position. Haven't talked about him too much tonight. We've mentioned him a bit here and there, but he's had just a really quiet night, a really solid night, working his way up through the field nice and methodically, and hasn't gotten himself in any trouble whatsoever. And he's running 4th position, Peter. So that's really a good run for that number 80 car.
Yep, but don't look now. AJ Digby in the number 14 machine. He's worked his way back into the 5th position. Was in 3rd place when he had that contact from Nate Catilla. So he's working his way back. He's going to see if he can close in on the back of Cochran, like you were mentioning, currently running in the 4th position. Got to keep an eye out for Fernando Matos as well. He's been one of the faster cars on the long run, currently running in the 7th position. Of course, last week's winner at Daytona International Speedway. They're right behind Tim Masters. In fact, it looks like he's just showing that nose to that number 9 machine. Another solid run for Matos. And Cameron, one thing about Fernando is he definitely has improved since joining the SimPossible Racing League. It seems like his pace just keeps getting better and better. Of course, that breakthrough win last week, and he's definitely shown tonight, especially on the long run, that number 17 is fast.
Absolutely, and especially after winning last week, he's gonna want to come out here and, you know, do a two-peat again. But he's had a solid night tonight. Looking on the inside of Tim Masters there in turn 3, probably not going to have enough momentum to make the move, but you know, definitely having a solid night. Looks like I have a battle for the lead here at the front here pretty soon. Kyle Zimmer has ran down Tanner Sharp. He's about 0.2 of a second behind, and we know that 25 is fast on older tires. He has ran down Tanner Sharp once this race, and definitely going to want to do it again. So off turn number 2, that number 25 is pretty good off turn number 2. I think we mentioned that before. That number 25 is a little bit stronger in the turn 1 and 2 end of the speedway, and I think the 3 is a little bit stronger in 3 and 4. So right here, you see the number 3 get right down to that inside line, hook that corner pretty well, and off the corner he's going to gap the 25 by about a car length there. But you know, definitely flip-flopping back and forth what end of the speedway these two drivers are good on.
Yeah, and you know, they're just hanging out right behind that number 3 machine. Not the first time we've seen this tonight, as we've reached the 25 lap to go mark here in tonight's 200-mile race. That is 37.5 miles left. Now this time by they'll be down to 24 laps to go. I want to give a shout out to Christopher Burge in the chat, along with Grassroots Sim Racing. Always one of those drivers or people on YouTube, I should say, that are here each and every week. So got to give a shout out to you. Johnny Berardi also checking in. And if you joined us earlier in the race, Johnny Berardi was the 16th place car to start here tonight, but unfortunately he had connection issues and wasn't able to take the green flag, which was a tough break. He was in the server for a couple times, fell out a couple times. So that's definitely an unfortunate start to his night, and an unfortunate end to his night, I should say. As we now have only 23 laps to go. These laps are ticking down pretty darn quickly here around this mile-and-a-half racetrack. As Kyle Zimmer, you can see that mean attitude to that car as it goes through the corner. Those Camaros look quite fierce coming down the racetrack. As Fernando Matos almost clipping the wall there coming out of turn number 2. He's able to stay off it as he's still trying to get around the number 9 of Tim Masters for the 6th position. This battle up at the front with Kyle Zimmer just riding right behind that number 3 machine. And Cameron, I'm wondering if Zimmer should be ducking that nose out a little bit more than he is to try and get some more downforce on the nose.
Yeah, it definitely would help him a little bit, I think, especially off of turns 3 and 4, where you're a little bit faster through the corner than 1 and 2, so air a little bit more important through that end. That seems to be where he's struggling a little bit. Tanner's just able to get it down to that inside line and hook that corner really a lot better than Zimmer. You see Zimmer slide out a lot off of the corner and just loses a little bit of time. But you know, definitely whatever he's doing in 1 and 2 is working pretty well for him for the most part. See both drivers running about a lane and a half up from that bottom line. So, you know, really, it seems like 1 and 2 is a bit of a one groove, you know, end of the speedway, and 3 and 4 is a little bit more of the multi-groove side. But either way, you know, these two drivers are gonna definitely battle it out to the end. About two tenths the gap. It's holding steady about at that interval between first and second, and they're about 2 seconds down the road from third place Nate Catilla. So I think it's going to be between these two drivers to the end.
Yeah, and as Zimmer is trying his best to stay right up behind that number 3 machine, just kind of want to highlight Kyle Zimmer. He is from the Michigan area, and of course, if you're new to the SimPossible Racing League, all these drivers have some form of disability, and Kyle Zimmer, he is actually deaf and suffers from epilepsy. So it's, you know, great to see him out here on the racetrack, you know, running right behind that number 3 machine ever so closely, beating whatever he's, you know, deals with on a weekly basis, on a daily basis. But out here on the racetrack trying to get this win. We saw him struggle there a little bit coming out of turn number 2, washed up the racetrack, had to roll out of it. Let's see if he can close back in on that number 3 machine that's been so stout all race long. But it's interesting to note that Kyle Zimmer, in the bio that I have, you know, he's felt a lot more comfortable racing around these drivers because he's been racing here in the SimPossible Racing League now for almost a year. And he also says that he is able to minimize late race mistakes due to the experience from this league. So as these laps continue to wind down, he's going to want to try and minimize those mistakes that's bound to charge on that number 3 of Tanner Sharp. Looking a little bit further back, here's Mark Dingman. We haven't really mentioned Mark Dingman all too many times tonight in that number 48 machine, but he's starting to make a charge up through the field, currently running in the 8th position, right behind last week's winner of Fernando Matos. Entering turn number 1 and 2, running a little bit higher up on the racetrack than that number 17 machine, and definitely kind of arcing the car into the corner. Oh, Matos in the wall coming out of turn number 2, and that will allow that 48 of Dingman to slip on by. Fernando Matos definitely felt the pressure and clipped that outside wall. Now having some right side damage on that number 17 machine. I think with now 16 laps to go, that's going to definitely affect the aerodynamic and the handling of that number 17 machine as he now falls into the clutches of Brian Lohead.
Yeah, definitely. And one thing I want to kind of elaborate what you said earlier, Peter, about eliminating mistakes. We've heard from a lot of drivers in this league about the competition level getting to the point where you really just can't make mistakes anymore because everybody is so good. The league has gotten so much better as far as the talent and the skills of all these drivers. So really, you know, one mistake can really end your race, and you just have to be perfect now. You see a battle here for the 4th position. AJ Digby has made his way back up there, battling for it with Kevin Cochran. We'll see if he can make the slide job move up turn number 2. And yes, he slides up a little bit in front of him and takes that position away. AJ Digby was sideways several laps ago after some contact from behind from the number 4 of Nate Catilla. He's rebounded pretty nicely. Probably still not happy about where he is. He probably thinks he should finish a few spots higher than where he is running now, but either way, still a pretty good rebound for that 14 machine nonetheless after pretty much wrecking in turn 1. So, you know, good to see that. And now Cochran under fire from the number 9 of Tim Masters off turn number 2. I think we'll see if he can make the move into turn 3. I don't think he's going to have the run. No, he's not going to. Kevin Cochran actually drives it very deep into the corner. That might allow the 9 to slide through, but no, he's not. He's going to have to pull in behind him on the front stretch.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if AJ Digby, like you said, he had all but wrecked that number 14 machine in turns number 1 and 2. Probably took a couple laps of life off those tires with that slide through the corner, but nonetheless, he's been able to pull ahead a couple of car lengths now from Kevin Cochran. He currently sits about 2 seconds behind Nate Catilla, and with about 13 laps to go, he's going to have to mount a serious charge to run down that number 4 machine. Those two cars were the ones that made contact here not too long ago, but we watched this battle for the top 5 position, the last top 5 position between Kevin Cochran and Tim Masters. Masters running a little bit lower on the racetrack here through turns number 1 and 2, but that number 80 is going to get a good launch off the corner if he doesn't hit the bumps, and I think he just hit those bumps just a little bit, upset the car, made it a little bit tight, and here comes Tim Masters down to the inside. Cochran now running in the 3rd groove, Masters in that 2nd groove. Cochran finding some good grip through the center of the corner, but he pushed there coming off the corner, had to roll out of it as not hit the wall, and moves Tim Masters into 5th.
Yeah, that was a pretty good move for Tim Masters. I think he anticipated that 80 was going to get a little bit tight, backed off a little bit through the middle and got himself the good run, but I don't think Kevin Cochran's going to let it go early or easily off turn number 2. He's got a good run on the outside, but we're back here up at the front. See Tanner Sharp. He's got about a 0.6 of a second lead on Kyle Zimmer. These two are trading fast laps back and forth each and every lap, but it seems like Tanner Sharp has the advantage by just a little bit, that lead extending by a few 100ths every lap or so. And just looks like number 3 is out on a Sunday drive. We talked to him for this last restart. He said he just needed to get down to business and do what he needed to do, and he's definitely doing that. He's definitely doing it pretty well. Has led the most laps of this race by far, and really haven't seen a serious challenge to his lead in a long while. So I think Tanner Sharp is looking pretty good right now.
Yeah, really, the biggest opportunity it looked like all night to beat that number 3 machine was on pit strategy when we had that long green flag run to open up the race. AJ Digby stretched it to halfway. No other driver was able to stretch it to halfway, but 2 cautions since then has completely jumbled up the field, but it has allowed Tanner Sharp to battle back from what might have been a situation where he might not have won the race just due to strategy, as he now leads with only 8 laps to go. There is Kyle Zimmer. Last time by, Zimmer was about a 10th slower than Tanner Sharp, as Tanner now has extended the lead up to just about 1 second up at the front.
Yeah, and it looks like Kyle Zimmer, for him, it's coming down to the desperation times of the race. The lead has grown to just over 1 second. So if he's going to want to do something now with 8 laps to go, it's going to have to be something dramatic. And it looks like he's driving that car a little bit harder now. He's using up all the racetrack, trying to find whatever speed he can, but still yet the lead is hovering around the 1 second mark. Back here in the pack a little bit, Fernando Matos and Mark Dingman still going at it for the 7th position. It's like Dingman's got a few car lengths on that 17. Slides up pretty high in turns 1 and 2. He's up in the bumps, I think, so that's going to give the advantage to Fernando off of turn number 2. He's going to actually look down under him down the backstretch, but not going to be able to do anything just yet. But definitely. This has been a very clean race, Peter. Very, we've had 2 cautions and really just absolutely squeaky clean race, really.
Yeah, and we've had a couple of drivers at various points in the race, a couple of laps down, like Billy Wise and Brian Lowhead, both of those drivers on the lead lap. So pretty much every car, in fact, every car that we have currently on the racetrack is on the lead lap, with the exception of Matthew Lesniewski in the number 24 machine. So 12 of the 13 running cars on the lead lap, as we have 5 laps to go this time. Just 7.5 miles left for that number 3 machine here on this 1.5 mile racetrack, and Tanner Sharp definitely showing the way here. He's going to try and make it 5 wins out of the last 6 races. His only non-victory in the last 6 has been at Daytona. And that was a 2nd place finish. So really impressive stretch of races for Tanner Sharp. Really the only thing that could thwart him here would be a green-white checker. Not going to say we're going to see one, but we've seen some a couple times. We saw one last night here at Kentucky Speedway in the other series that we do broadcast here on 3 Wide TV. So that's not out of the question just yet. But for now, Zimmer 1.35 seconds off the race lead.
Yeah, Nate Cattell is about 2.2 back. He's got about 2 seconds behind him to the 14 of AJ Digby, and I think that would be pretty good for him to not see that 14, because I think that 14 definitely would still remember that contact in turn number 1 that resulted in him getting moved out of the way and almost wrecking. So I think if AJ caught Nate Catilla, there would probably be a little bit of a frustration move right there. So Nate Catilla looking pretty good for a podium finish for himself, but it's been all Tanner Sharp this race. He's led the most laps by far. He's extending his lead on Kyle Zimmer. Just doesn't look like anyone has had the pace to do anything with Tanner Sharp. And 2 laps to go, he's looking for 5 wins out of 6 races, and that is absolutely incredible for anyone in any league whatsoever to do that. That is just absolutely incredible. And Peter, I know for somebody, you're a champion in another league yourself, and have a lot of wins to your credit. When you get on that kind of a roll, do you just kind of start feeling like you can just go out there and win any race you want, just not even think about it anymore?
Yeah, I mean, once you get on a roll, you're feeling this type of racetrack. You go to a lot of 1.5-mile racetracks, and my oh my, you get on that roll. You're feeling it each and every week. You just go out there, you put your head down, you know what you got to do. And for Tanner Sharp, all he has to do is get around 2 more corners of this racetrack to get his yet another victory, 5 in the last 6. He heads off into turn number 3.
Yeah, and get the kazoos ready, because that number 3 has absolutely been on fire tonight, and definitely going to drop that mixtape out of turn number 4. Across the line here at Kentucky Speedway, Tanner Sharp takes the victory with an absolutely dominating drive, and really I don't think there's anyone else who is hotter in racing right now, let alone in the SimPossible Racing League. And then that number 3 of Tanner Sharp, he's absolutely just coming out here each and every week, showing everybody that he's going to come out here, lead all the laps, win all the races, and pretty much do everything. But what a good race. A very clean race. 2 cautions on the night for 133 laps, 200 miles gone by like that. And, just like that, Peter, we got another race under the books.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's pretty cool to see that United States machine. That's a pretty cool paint scheme. I'm gonna have to ask Tanner Sharp about that paint scheme in Victory Lane, because that is one sharp-looking machine. Excuse the pun, as he lights up the rear tires here right in front of the flagman. Tanner Sharp once again going back to Victory Lane. Good run for Nate Catilla, finishing in the 3rd position. Started in the 4th position, gained 1 spot from the start of the race. So pretty cool to see that. Fernando Matos started 8th, finishing in 8th. Good run for Mark Dingman, coming home in 7th, just in front of last week's winner. So a couple of good stories here after this one, but Tanner Sharp came in tonight as your points leader, and he will extend that points lead with a dominant run.
Yeah, absolutely. And one driver who's probably not happy about not winning, but happy about finishing 2nd, Kyle Zimmer. Of course, he was not at last week's race at Daytona and actually lost the points lead because of that. So going to claw some points back, but not get his points lead back, because right there, your points leader did finish in front of him. He's got max points for this race, so or not max points. Yes, max points. I think he does have max points. So just trying to get all the points you can for the season, and really, it's really all you can do as a driver. But we're going to let all of these drivers get their thoughts collected, get everything settled, and get everything squared away, get out of their cars, and maybe take a drink of water or whiskey or whatever they want. And we'll have some interviews for you guys when we get back very shortly.
All right, welcome back to the Kentucky Motor Speedway here in Sparta, Kentucky. And I'm Peter Short and Cameron Rich alongside me. We're going to get to talk to the top 3 finishers of tonight's race, starting with driver of the number 4 machine. Let's see if we can dial him up here. That'd be Nate Cotillier. Coming home in the 3rd position. I think we've... Now let's see if we can grab his spotter here as well, Wayne Lowe. And guys, my oh my, fantastic run for you guys tonight. We were able to listen in on one of those restarts there middle of the race. Pretty awesome teamwork between you two, getting us to the end of the race and finishing 3rd. Tell us a little bit about your night.
Well, Nate has a little hard time speaking, so he's gonna text me things. But yeah, I'm happy with it. Worked out well. Good run, real good run. Another top 5 for him.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, through the middle part of the race, we had a couple of cautions, but a long green flag run. Talk us through that long green flag run and the strategies that were going through y'all's head.
I did a test earlier and then, took note of where the lap times fell off and everything. I figured right around lap 40 would probably be the best time to short pit in the beginning and have a long run in the middle. Nate really just leaves the strategy up to me. Whatever. He just drives the car and lets me, either hang him or do good for him. So then when the caution came out, and it would put us right on the edge of the fuel window, and then that second caution there at the end made it so, we had all kinds of fuel.
Yeah, absolutely. It made for some interesting strategies there at that midpoint. But yeah, we did see a couple cars come down short pit. So it was interesting. It was a good race to see all the way up there to the end. Besides Nate's win back at Las Vegas in the 3rd race of the season, this ties his best finish since then, another 3rd place. But the season's starting to come to a point where he's going to have to start thinking about the championship. So from y'all's perspective, a good run here, does that give you enough momentum to propel yourself into a good spot there once the chase begins?
Yeah, I think the tracks there in the playoffs kind of suit it easy. It has a little trouble on the short tracks, but the intermediate tracks, mile and a half, 2 miles, he's pretty good at. So I think once we get to the playoffs, I think he'll have a real good shot. He wants me to throw in there that he loved the run tonight. He wants to say sorry to AJ Digby for making contact there, after that last restart. And he switched over to Ford. He said he's loving it. And he was hoping to get a win, but, top 3 works out good for him tonight.
Absolutely. Well, before we let y'all go, I do want to ask about the next race that we have on the calendar, which will be, I believe, at the New Hampshire Motor Speedway, which is kind of a tricky track, kind of races like a short track there. What are your thoughts about New Hampshire next week?
My thoughts are I'm glad I don't have to drive it. I'm not a big fan of New Hampshire. What about you, Nate? What do you think? He says, oh, God, I don't know.
Yeah, that's kind of how New Hampshire goes. Every time I go there, personally, I kind of agree with you. But it should be an interesting race here next week here on 3 Wide TV, same place, same time. But before we let you guys go for the last time, any shout-outs that you'd like to give?
Nate, what do you got? Thought bubble. Still waiting here a second.
Now, that is quite okay. Give them plenty of time. It's it's a lot of fun giving these broadcasts each and every week for these drivers. They're all a great group of people. I've come to know a couple of them, and definitely a great group of people here. And give him all the time he needs.
Yeah, they are a great group of guys. I've gotten to be friends with a bunch of them, and Jeff does a great job with this league. I mean, he runs it all out of his pocket. Doesn't ask for a dime from these guys. He just loves doing it, and big thanks to Jeff for doing this. He said he wanted to thank me, but whatever. He wants to really thank Jeff, 3 Wide, and Fernando helped him out a little bit. New teammate, I guess.
All right, well, very cool. Great to have Nate Cotillo once again finishing in the top 3 here tonight, and great for having you up here as well, Wayne. And gotta say, out of all the spotters I've heard in iRacing, you guys make a fantastic team. It's pretty cool to listen into y'all when you're racing and all that stuff. So keep on doing what y'all are doing as well, and hopefully we get to talk to you a couple more times throughout the season.
Yeah, Nate said he's going for a bowl of ice cream, so it's ice cream time for him.
I'll take one as well, Nate, while you're at it. Well, anyway, I'll let you all go celebrate a third place finish here tonight with a bowl of ice cream.
Thanks, guys.
All right, well, that is driver number 4 machine Nate Cotillo coming home with a third place finish here tonight. I believe that Cameron Rich has caught up with your second place finisher, Kyle Zimmer.
Yeah, I got him right here. A new scheme for tonight's race. Went home in second, and Kyle, well, I know you missed last week at Daytona. You're a bit disappointed about that one, but coming out here with a second place finish, not too shabby of a run, if I must say so myself. Just kind of take us through your entire race from start to finish in your own eyes.
Yeah, nice rebound after missing last week race. All night was a very strong car, and first round I noticed had a strong car, and I hit the bump and turn 1 or 2 that kind of threw me off. Lost the lead there, and I kept going right by the white line in the corners, and I really my tires there, and I lost a lot of time. But I took a stop there, and then I learned from there, and I kind of changed my driving lane into turn 1 and 2. Really helped a lot in the rest of the night, especially in the long run, and was able to keep up with Tanner. I tried to get around him if I could, and we were pretty equal. Car over with the last lap or so. I didn't have anything for him. Take second.
Yeah, it looked like the track was a little bit tough tonight. It looked like the car was a little bit on the tight side. I did notice, though, in turns 1 and 2, you were a little bit stronger than the 3 for most of the night, but it looked like Tanner had you covered down in turns 3 and 4. Is there something different that you could have done?
Yeah, and track was definitely tight handling all night, and really got to be easy on the tires. Like, I was really pushing myself a lot in turn 1 and 2, and out of lane, and hurt the tire in the long runs, and yeah, I noticed I was a little bit faster. But yeah, he was faster than me on turn 3 or 4. If there's anything I could have done, try to find him maybe find on a pit stop, maybe if I had beat him off the pit road and maybe off there, that might be the only way I could win tonight. But other than that, I tried to change lanes a little bit there, but I didn't want to use my tires at the same time. I think he had a contribute tonight, so I really had nothing. Unless I get in front of him, that might be the only.
All right, well, next week is a new race, and next week we are at one of the eternal voids of iRacing, it seems. We're going to New Hampshire. How are you looking forward to that one?
Yeah, and Hampshire's definitely a fun track, and it's definitely going to be a lot of tire management. Once again, just like tonight, it's somewhat, and don't want to tire on run up there, and definitely looking forward to New Hampshire in a while since we went last year. Truck series, so this first time, and this definitely looking forward.
All right, Kyle. Well, that's pretty awesome to hear, and I think you definitely will do well next week. You are one of the very much heavyweights of this league. Pretty much a threat to win each and every week. So definitely look for you at the front. But we do appreciate you talking to us as always. But before we let you go, as always as well, we know you got some shoutouts for us, so let's hear them.
Yeah, definitely like to shout out to you guys, Rewind TV, for broadcasting. Out, trying to think of everything that participated in. And then also want to thank Jeff. This was. I also want to thank sponsor BWTV Shine for once again Shine. Try to get them in the close, and also want to thank Rebel Racing for as well. Next week.
All right, that was your second place finisher from tonight, Kyle Zimmer. And thank you very much for talking with us, Kyle. We will definitely talk to you again next week. And I think Peter Short has trounced down pit road all the way to the other end, and I think he's caught up with our winner, Tanner Sharp.
That I have caught up with driver number 3, Do SA Machine, and my goodness, Tanner, you led most of this race and definitely showed your muscle up there at the front. And talk us through your race from your perspective. I know you led most of the laps, most of the race, so I'm sure it was a pretty quiet race from your perspective.
Yeah, quiet up forward towards front, but in your head you're thinking, you're kind of keeping track, and if they're gaining on you, if they're, if you're pulling away or whatever. But you do gotta think pit stops, and that's what we were doing. So there's usually it doesn't look like too much going on up towards the front, but inside the cockpit there's a lot going on. I'm sure Peter, you've seen on my stream tonight, but yeah, we had a really good car all night long. From practice and qualifying, I thought we were going to get the pole for qualifying, but we didn't. We had a couple fast guys up there. I thought AJ kind of had my number along with Zimmer. Those two guys seemed like they were strongest ones out of the bunch tonight. Nate got stronger as the race went on, so good job for Nate for getting third place on the deal tonight. But we had them try to stretch that fuel run because we were pulling away from AJ Digby on that first green flag pit stop, and we were just like, man, well, let's see if we can go to the longest green flag run here. And we managed to go about 60 laps. We weren't really saving at all. By the time we got out there and we were catching guys, caution comes out. And then we had a race a little bit with Zimmer and Digby there for the top spot. We didn't make any car contact or anything like that, so that's a good thing. We're all race clean. We just need that clean air to be able to work with everything. And then we were thinking fuel strategy, and you know how you get on iRacing, sometimes you have to recalibrate your wheel or your pedals or whatever. Well, my case was the pedals, and my clutch wasn't working, so I couldn't hold on the clutch to save gas. So I really had to stay off the gas as long as I can to save a little gas, and that's what I did. It saved me about 2 laps of it, but that was it. But then the caution came on, that threw everything out the window. So we were just racing hard from here on out. So with Zimmer there, really good night. Once again, this number 3 machine's just been fast no matter what scheme we're in this week. This week it's Mountain Dew United paint scheme. You'll go to your local gas station, you see on the bottle have a state on it or whatever. That's the whole representation of this, of Mountain Dew's promotion.
Yeah, I was going to say that number 3 machine was looking sharp out there. Really a fantastic paint scheme on that machine tonight. Hopefully we'll get to see that paint scheme a couple more times this season, and possibly next week when we go to the New Hampshire Motor Speedway. You have some good finishes at New Hampshire Motor Speedway in your iRacing career, including a second place in the Truck Series race last season here in the SimPossible Racing League. What are your thoughts about New Hampshire?
I've had good finishes there.
You have actually. I've been looking through your
ignore
online...
that NASCAR 360 stuff.
Yeah, you won a couple races there. You got some good finishes there here in SimPossible at New Hampshire, and some very respectable top 5 and top 10s at 3 Wide Racing League. So I gotta say, it looks like you've got a good feel for New Hampshire.
I'll ignore them NASCAR 360 stats, but as far as the other stuff, I guess so. I don't know. I always thought I'd struggle at that track because I'm not a fan of flat tracks, but I'm a fan of the Milwaukee Mile, crazy enough, right? Because of its historical track. But no, I'm not a fan of flat tracks. Last time I actually raced there was SimPossible, so whatever date that was back then. That was that showdown. I'm sure you guys capture here on 3YT. That showdown between me and Dave, and I door slammed one another, and I got shot off the track. So I never forgotten about that. But that was a good fun race. So yeah, we're looking forward to it. Are we gonna win it? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. I think Dave will have a strong race there because Dave had he was struggling tonight, so I'm sure he'll be strong in New Hampshire. And yeah, we're just kind of try to keep our momentum rolling, and eventually our streak's got to end. Actually, it did end in Daytona, but our winning streak here has got to end eventually. We won 5 of the last 6 races for our 6th win of the season, so we know we're in the championship in the playoffs, and I'm planning on having surgery in September, so that may or may not interfere with my hopes on winning the championship. So we'll see about all that. We'll see how things go. But right now, we'll just kind of keep doing what we're doing, showing our stuff. It's gonna be fun in New Hampshire. It should be a fun race.
Absolutely. Well, before we let you go, Tanner, you got some shout-outs for us?
Yeah, you guys, 3YTV. Let's get you guys in here right off the bat here for your broadcasts on 3YTV every single week, no matter what series it is. It's always good to watch. Jeff Schmidt, league organizer, he does a great job. He doesn't ask a dime out of our pockets for anything, man. He just asks us to show up and come race with these fellas, and we do. We show up and we race. So thanks to Jeff, everything he done, and his commitment, us as well, every single driver's commitment, 3YTV's commitment, the good Lord above, family, friends, Mountain Dew, National Guard, Shriners Hospital for Children. I think I got everything and everybody in there. So you guys for watching my stream on Facebook Live and as well as YouTube here. Everybody in the chat here tonight, thank you very much for watching and your comments. So we should have a good old race next week at the flat track of New Hampshire, the Magic Mile, Martinsville on steroids, right?
Absolutely, and we will see you there, Tanner. And best of luck there next week.
Thank you.
All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, that is Tanner Sharp, winner of 5 of the last 6 SimPossible B-Car Series races, an absolute impressive record. Absolutely tearing up a storm here in the SimPossible Racing League, but I do believe Cameron Rich has caught up with league organizer Jeff Schmidt.
Yeah, I got the roller skates on. I went to the other end of pit road, and he's not shining his shoes this week. He's not eating $5 pizza, but he does have some fried chicken. I hope it is Kentucky, by the way. So, Jeff, I got to ask you, how about that race?
Oh man, what a great race. I enjoyed every minute of it. With the different pit strategies, you know, not only fuel but tires, you got to think of here. Tires were really important. The tire wear, I've heard some guys were saying we're in the low 20s on the long run there. So big factor tonight was, you know, having fresh tires when other guys couldn't to make up that time if you did lose it on pit road. Really interesting stuff here. For a minute there, I thought we were going to go green the whole way. A couple cautions here, though, for 133 laps. I can't complain. You guys did an amazing job. I'm super stoked.
Yeah, I've definitely seen a lot of official races at this track, and none have been at the quality that we saw tonight. And just, you know, just seeing the level of competition and the level of everything improving this league week in and week out. It's we heard it a couple weeks ago. I think it's becoming even more prevalent each and every week that you have to be so perfect and just be so good to win these races now. Bit of a shock for, you know, all of us tonight, seeing some of the heavy hitters like struggle, and you know, just shows how good everybody's getting.
It is, man. You know, when you have some of these guys, you know, congrats to Tanner. He's been super dominant in this series, and you know, he doesn't tend to struggle a whole lot, but yeah, a couple other guys that you would expect up in the top 5 that didn't make it up there, with having problems early on and whatnot. It's interesting because there's guys out there that are finally putting the pressure to them that maybe they didn't feel before. So everyone does an amazing job of racing clean. First of all, if there's an incident that you've seen, then it's an accident. It always is. No one ever goes out there intentionally trying to move anyone or anything like that. Especially at a track like this. I mean, it's just not worth it, and it's, you know, people see that it's not something that the guys plan on doing. I'll just say that much. But to be able to put pressure on some of those guys, and for some of the guys to do better and better consistently, we got something going on here, and the racing is just going to get better. I have no doubt about it.
Yeah, and I'm just looking at these next remaining schedule, or the schedule for the next few races in this series, and really a lot of really interesting tracks. New Hampshire, Iowa, Waukee Glen, Mid-Ohio, Bristol, Road America, Darlington, those are all going to be really cool events to watch, and a lot of those are really really heavily driver focused tracks. So I think it's going to be pretty. I think that's going to be right there. What really shows what this whole series is all about, like that stretch of races, because those are all like such tough racetracks for everyone.
No doubt about it. And yeah, I'm thinking the same thing moving forward here to some of these tracks that we're going to visit. I have no doubt in my mind that these guys will put on a heck of a show like they always do. They've never let me down here. As far as the racing being good, no matter what happens, the racing is just awesome. I think what really sets us apart from most is the respect factor of how the drivers respect each other, and to know that themselves and each other maybe struggle with something in life, to have that bit of something to have in common with each other. It really changed the whole aspect of the sense of a league, where you go out there and you just want to run and win. These guys care about each other, and that's a major difference. It's really cool to see, and I'm excited to see them, push the limits at some of the tracks that maybe some of them thought that they wouldn't be very great at, and yeah, they prove themselves to be amazing no matter where they go, man.
Absolutely, and then having talked to pretty much everyone that races here, myself, and giving them a little bit of crap here and there, and having them give me crap, I can definitely attest to that. And it's just kind of friendship that is around here, which is really cool to see. So why we love broadcasting this series here at 3Wide TV. But Jeff, we know you got a lot of people that help you run this show, and a lot of people you want to thank and all that stuff. So let's hear it.
Yeah, I do, and I apologize if I forget a few during my interview part. I really should be giving a couple more people shout outs that I don't typically, and I'll try to cover that tonight. First off with you guys though, with 3Wide TV broadcasting, been there since day one with us. We couldn't have it any better than you guys helping us out and doing what you're doing. You guys are dedicated and committed to helping us out, and I truly appreciate it. And the broadcast is amazing. It truly is. You guys do some awesome work. Thanks to the drivers themselves. This is for them. Without them, it wouldn't be anything. Thanks to their families, of course, especially ones that need help with daily activities or even with the racing. I mean, there's a couple of drivers out there that may need a little bit of help getting set up and stuff to even get out here and race with us. So thank you to the family members to allow them to do that. Thank you to Glenn at SimAbility for sharing our stuff and helping us get going in this league to try to network. And a lot of drivers came from Glenn and the SimAbility League when they did run. Glenn's an awesome guy. He's been in the business for a long time, and I kind of consider him the godfather of the iRacers with disabilities. He's really a respectful and respectable man, and thank you so much for Glenn to do what he does to communicate back and forth with us to try to help out with different things. Thanks to Paul Davies for the Team Brit race coming up. He's allowing us to have not only teams in there, but to be able to share our stuff, and they shared our stuff as well. So super cool of this endurance race coming up September 7th with Team Brit. Paul Davies puts on amazing events. Super looking forward to that. Of course, we have a charity race of our own that's going to be after that, around mid-September. Going to be announcing more specifics in a week or two here. Just trying to get it all gathered together, and we want to do it as best as we can. So look forward to that. I will say that it will be the Cup Cars at Daytona. It'll be a Daytona 500 event. It's going to be amazing, and I know the driver list is going to fill up quick. Probably have 43 out there, and it's going to be cool. There's going to be some cool prizes, a lot of stuff to look forward to for that, and we're hoping to raise a lot of money for drivers with disabilities to be able to help with a lot of different things. So truly blessed to be able to do this. I love the drivers, love their families, love you guys in the booth. Everyone that watches on YouTube and shares everything that we do and supports what we do. Love them all. Thank you so much for giving us all these opportunities that we're going to attack and make it our own here and try to do the best that we can to help out.
Awesome stuff, Jeff, and that's all awesome news to hear, especially a big race coming up. And while our producer is having some issues, we thank you for talking with us as always. And
I think our producer's trying to kill himself in that broken chair of his again.
I'm sorry. Yeah, but thank you very much for talking with us, Jeff. Peter, I think if Carlos can get himself off the floor, he's
Hey,
got
look,
some
he pressed
results
the
for
button.
us.
He pressed the button to put up the race results. Good on him. He says the hardest job is hitting the button. So Tanner Sharp, like we said, gets his 5th win out of the last 6 races. Really impressive by him, leading 106 laps tonight there. As you can see on the bottom of the screen, Kyle Zimmer coming home 2nd, Nate Tiller 3rd, 4th was AJ Digby, 5th Tim Masters, Kevin Cochran comes home 6th, 7th position falls to Mark Dingman, a respectable run for him. Fernando Matos, Brian Lowhead, and Tom Johnson round out your top 10.
And Billy Wise is home in 11th place. Alan Capers, we saw him up front early on the race. Had some trouble there near the end, coming home 12th. Matthew Wisniewski coming home in 13th. Dave Wilson, probably the shock of the night, coming home in 14th place. Doug McCollum, another shock. The pole sitter, had a lot of speed in practice and in qualifying. Coming home in 15th, and Johnny Berardi having some internet issues early on, was not able to actually take the start of the race, so he's going to be your 16th place finisher. But Peter, this was a pretty awesome race through and through, very clean, very we saw some bumpers being thrown, saw a lot of side-by-side racing, saw just saw things and really good things all around, and I'm getting yelled at by the producer once again, so we're going to go ahead and end this pretty quickly. But before we do, I want to give a shout out to all of our viewers on YouTube, whether you watch the live broadcast or after the fact. You're the reason why we do this, and I'm sure that everybody at SimPossible appreciates it as well. Get the word out. If you like what you see, if you like 3 Wide, if you like SimPossible, share the word around. This is a very good league to support, and we love broadcasting it. Want to give a shout out to SimTV for the cameras that allow us to show you all these cool angles and all these cool race cars that are going fast and doing race car things. And to Thomas Morris from OCR TV for these graphics that look absolutely beautiful. And, they do add a little bit of pop and glitter to the stream, so that's really awesome to see. And just a shout out to everyone that just a shout out to everybody. Whether you chat with us in the chat on the broadcast or not, we appreciate chats, and we always watch them and love that you guys hang out with us. So that's really cool to see. But that's all we got for you tonight. So from myself, from Peter Short, from Carlos Acosta at 3 Wide TV, hope you all have a good night. Stay safe if you go out. Don't drink and drive because it's bad. And if you do anything, make sure to do it right and stay awesome, everyone.